I'm Brian Stelter, and it's time for Reliable Sources. And today there is one obvious lead story. It provides a textbook example of red news, blue news, the way in which the news you get is so sharply skewed by the politics of people who deliver it. When the president walked out to the Rose Garden last Saturday afternoon for this photo op, we couldn't help but feel a swell of patriotism. Our only prisoner of war, Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl, was finally coming home after 5 years of Taliban captivity. Members of Congress sent out tweets to celebrate, and then there was this the next morning.
He served the United States with honor and distinction.
The White House PR operation really failed on this one. The suspicious circumstances of Bergdahl's disappearance, even the claims that he had been a deserter, had been known for years, and yet there was no acknowledgement of that from Susan Rice. After the prisoner swap, this story got personal and political fast.
But it is Robert Bergdahl, the father, who is also engendering some controversy. He has learned to speak Pashto, the language of the Taliban, and looks like a Muslim. He's also somewhat sympathetic to Islam, actually thanking Allah right in front of the president.
Thank you, Bill O'Reilly, for demonstrating how to conduct a smear campaign against a military family. Now, it went on and on like that. Many of those congressional tweets I mentioned, many of them from Republicans, they were deleted. Here's how some of O'Reilly's opponents on MSNBC did try to muster a defense. Let's play Ed Schultz.
Prisoner exchanges are commonplace in armed conflict. In fact, in 1985, Ronald Reagan gave 1,500 missiles to Iran in exchange for prisoners. What do you think? You do the calculation, folks. Do you think that 1,500 missiles are a little bit more dangerous in the hands of those folks than 5 guys who are going to be on probation in Qatar?
But it just kept coming back to Bergdahl and his family. I mean, we saw red news, blue news play out right inside one network. Here again from MSNBC, resident conservative Joe Scarborough.
Any good father would not tell their son to follow their conscience and leave men and women on the line. Yes.
I confess I almost threw my remote control at the TV at one point this week. By the end of the week, Fox News was asserting that Bergdahl converted to Islam and, quote, declared jihad in captivity. That has not been backed up by other sources. And frankly, I'm only bringing it up here because we're a media show devoted to pointing out media missteps. We will get to the media coverage in a moment, but first let's tackle the administration's missteps. How did the president wind up on the defensive again? Let me ask 3 excellent guests. Matt Lewis, senior contributor to the Daily Caller, Ryan Lizza, the New Yorker's Washington correspondent and a CNN commentator, and Gloria Borger, CNN's chief political analyst. Thank you all for joining me.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Gloria, let me start with you with what you wrote on CNN.com earlier this week. You said years of internal deliberations have gone into this moment where this prisoner swap occurred. So why did the White House so mismanage this PR situation?
Well, I think that's the good question we don't know the answer to. In talking to people at the White House, what I can tell you is, and I think the Rose Garden appearance, that triumphal Rose Garden appearance is what we're talking about, that kind of struck a bad chord. I think the White House was thinking that they were going to get pushback on the national security side. Why do a swap for 5 prisoners? So what they were trying to do with that White House appearance was put a human face on it, was to say, look, Sergeant Bergdahl has a mother. He has a father. They haven't seen him in 5 years. And so let's put a human face on it. Instead, what that seemed to inspire was a lot of vitriol about the apparent circumstances in which he left his post. And they weren't ready for that kind of a firestorm.
Matt, you've been recapping, collating all of the conservative reactions on Twitter the last few days. What do you think the White House should have done differently?
I think the problem is the PR 101 says you underpromise, overachieve. And I do think had President Obama essentially done what David Brooks did on Friday in his column, which is to basically say, look, there are problems surrounding, his... we don't yet quite know what happened. There are questions that linger, but it is our policy to bring our men and women home. And he left it at that. Had he avoided the Rose Garden ceremony, I think he would have been in much, much better shape.
I think what two things the White House did wrong. I think one, they kept this among a very small circle of aides, and often with the smaller the circle, the less outside views to sort of vet both the PR process and the policy process. So they may have had some blind spots here. And then second, I think what they really didn't anticipate, they did not anticipate Bergdahl's fellow soldiers coming forward and making some pretty just tough accusations against him. And that was sort of organized by a Republican operative. And I think that that's one thing that they didn't expect at all.
And I also think the White House did not expect sort of the public outcry from the Democratic chairwoman of the Senate Intelligence Committee saying, it was outrageous that she had not been told in advance.
I just think they must have known. I mean, they obviously knew this was not going to be swallowed easily by both, either the public or the press, right? They knew they were giving up 5 Taliban soldiers. So I don't think I doubt anyone was sitting in the White House saying, we're going to get Bergdahl back and everyone's going to love this story. It's going to be, it's going to be great. It was an awful sort of hold your nose deal, right?
No, but they were trying. No, but what Gloria was saying, I think, early on is indicative. They thought this was going to be a win.
But let me play a clip of Susan Rice being interviewed by CNN's Jim Acosta on Friday as she was asked about the 2 different situations that you mentioned, Ryan. One about Benghazi and one about Bergdahl.
Are you being upfront with the American people, or are you being guided by talking points too much when you go on these programs?
Jim, I'm upfront with the American people, and I always do my best on behalf of my country, and I do my best and tell the facts as we know them. In the case of Bo Bergdahl, for me to condemn him without any opportunity for him to have the chance to tell his side of the story without any due process that we accord any American, that would be inherently unfair. Similarly with Benghazi, as has been recounted on many occasions, I provided the best information that the U.S. government had at the time.
Yes, Susan Rice should never appear on another Sunday morning television show. Is that right, Gloria?
No. She should go on and she should be armed with the facts. And I think that she tried to defend using the words honor and distinction because we don't know any different. What we do know is this is somebody who volunteered to serve his country. And so you have to give Sergeant Bergdahl that at the very least, and you have to leave the rest to be discovered.
I want to put up on screen some of the graphics from Fox News on Friday. One of the banners said, Bergdahl converted to Islam. A lot of this was based on reporting from a secret document obtained from a private intelligence company that has not been proven from other sources, that the U.S. government has not corroborated. Ryan, when you saw this report on Thursday, when you read about it, what was your reaction to it?
Look, I want to say, first of all, that James Rosen, the reporter who wrote the original story, I've known him for a long time, and I think he's a very good reporter. I was one of his most vocal defenders over an issue of controversy that he was involved in last year.
Yes.
But this report does not meet the bar. I've been a journalist for 17 years, and the sourcing on this report, I can't think of an outlet I've ever been associated with that would have reported this. This is hearsay from terrorists passed through an ex-felon and then, and then to the American people.
And let me add one more detail to that about what it's like to be in captivity. I want to share a story from 2006 that I wrote on my blog, TV Newser, at the time. Here's the headline: Stephen Olaf forced to convert to Islam at gunpoint on video. Stephen Olaf were Fox News employees, Steve Centani and his producer. They were taken hostage for several weeks in Gaza. They appeared to convert to Islam on video. They said that they did it at gunpoint, under threat of death, and later, of course, said it was untrue. For Fox to go off at length talking about this idea of him converting to Islam without knowing strikes me as particularly unfair, given that situation in 2006.
Yeah, and by the way, this is somebody who was probably trying to save his life. And none of us can stand here, not one of us can say what we would do in the circumstances in which we felt that we were threatened every single minute.
This is one of those stories that could be talked about for days and is being talked about for days, and yet I almost think it sometimes needs fewer hours of coverage because there's so much we don't know. There are so many answers that we don't have, and as a result, you see something like on Fox, you see claims about jihad and about Islam that seem way out ahead of where we actually are.
Yeah, because what happens with all stories, political stories now, is they get filtered almost 100% through folks' cultural and political biases.
Well, there's also the fact that we need content, that people who are out there getting paid, and there are more and more outlets, that we need to keep uncovering something new.
By the way, the White House was aware of everything. But in this kind of a situation, I think you have a presidential decision that was made that was controversial, and what they wanted to do was put a face on it to kind of downgrade the kind of controversy they were going to get, and that didn't work.
Gloria Borger, Matt Lewis, Ryan Lizza, thank you all for joining me.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks.